Okay, we are ready to start doing tassels. So for this step, you are going to need a full spool of yarn. You could use more than one color at this point if you want. You're going to need one of these hard-covered books and a pair of scissors. When you're choosing your yarn, you want to think about what texture that might provide at the bottom of your weaving. So for this demo, I've just grabbed a pretty normal sized width of yarn. It doesn't have a ton of texture to it, but there's a lot of it. Something that I would not choose, would be something like this really skinny one here. This isn't going to provide us with a lot of weight at the bottom, and that's sort of the purpose of the tassel, is it's giving you that like ending weighted piece at the bottom. This would make a pretty tassel. It would just require so much more string, and I think would be really hard to get that effect with this string. So I wouldn't use this one. I probably also wouldn't use this rope right here. This is really thick. So tying this around your frame would create a really bulky knot where it starts. So something in the sort of medium thickness is really good. There are some strings, however, that have really fun texture. So things that are a little curly can give you a different look. And then of course our standard yarns are going to provide you with something like this, which can look really great too. So think about those things when you're choosing your tassel yarn, and go grab your materials, and when you're back, we'll be ready to start tasseling. Okay. So to create tassels, I'm going to start with my book, and I'm going to start with a big piece of yarn. And you know that we have 48 individual strings. We have 24 pairs of strings. So what we're going to do is we're going to create bundles of strings, and we want to have 3 pieces of string for every pair of warp strings that we have. So again, 24 pairs, and we want 3 pieces of string for each pair. So that's going to be 75 minus 3, 72 pieces of string. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find the end of my yarn, hopefully, and I'm gonna start at the bottom of my book, and I'm just going to put the string here and hold it, and I'm gonna wrap it around 72 times. I'm not gonna do 72 for this demo, so there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to call that enough, but you need 72 full wraps around this book. And I want my string to start here, and it's going to end here. So I can take my scissors. And the reason I'm using this hardcover book is it's going to give me the even length for each string. And the hardcover book has this little space, this channel in here that I can get my scissor blade into. So I like to use this. There might be other tools that you could use for the same purpose, but I'm just going to put my scissors through and cut them. So now I have 12 pieces of string that are all roughly the same length. I'm going to pull 3 of them out. We're going to start with 3. Can I set my other ones off to the side? I'm going to try to zoom you in here a little bit so you can get closer to the frame to see what we're doing. Okay. So I'm going to start with a pair of 2 strings. I'm going to take my 3 strings and I'm leaving them even and flat. And I'm going to place them over the top of those 2 strings, roughly in the middle. And I'm going to pick this first string up, and this side of 3 is going to wrap behind and under. And then I'm going to go to the other side, and these 3 are going to wrap behind, around, and under. And I'm going to put all the ends of my string roughly even and pull them down. And then notice right here, when I did that these 3 are in a row. They're not twisted on each other. That's one thing I like to look for. I'm also not pulling these super duper tight. I don't want this. That's gonna make my spacing of my warp uneven. So we're gonna leave them kind of loose. And you'll do a couple plain weaves on top of this full row of tassels once they're done, and that'll help lock these into place. So I'm gonna do another one here so you can see how that works. So again, pulling 3. And yes, you could use more than 3, you could use fewer than 3, but what I found for this size of warp, this size of yarn, is that 3 on each one is sort of the optimal amount. So around, line them up, pull them down, make them stay nice and even. And another set, 3 strings, get them even. Find the middle, lay them on top, wrap them around and under, around and under, pull them down, even them out. So you could, in theory, take these 3, find the middle, go to your next set of strings and wrap them above. It's gonna give you a different shape. So I wanna do this so you can see what that would look like. So if I did this and then push them down, what this is gonna do as it comes down is it's gonna cover over that knot, and these are gonna want to lift up. So that's why we go on the bottom side. This, by leaving the knot above, is really allowing us to have the tassels fall in this direction. So you can do this, it just isn't gonna lay as flat. You'll have some, it'll kind of want to do this and leave this gapping right here. So you would finish your tassel line the whole way down, doing the whole frame, and then choosing another color of plain weave, just like you did, and doing at least 2 rows of plain weave above that. And then we have a lot of new stitches to learn that you can start weaving in and creating your design once you have your tassels. You can also do, if you really want multiple rows of tassels, you could alternate colors. And when we're all done with our weaving, when everything is completely done, you'll notice that you might have some unevenness to your tassels here. So this has kind of a jagged line, but what we could do once it's all done and we've taken it off of the frame so it's no longer sitting on the wood, we can brush it out and we can use scissors to cut a really nice straight edge, or we can cut little triangular angles to it, or we could cut it in a curve. There's a lot of ways to play with those tassels once it's removed from the frame, but for now we'll just leave them even if they're a little bit uneven in the end. Okay, that's all.